This bill proposes the most significant changes to the NDIS since it started more than a decade ago. And quite understandably, the disability community and NDIS participants, along with families, carers and NDIS workers, are concerned about the changes proposed. I know from conversations with my own community that this feels like an utter betrayal from the Labor government. A Labor government that has just announced a budget that prioritises handouts to fossil fuel companies, weapons manufacturers and wealthy property investors, and in turn has ripped funding out of the NDIS. $14.4 billion, that's how much the Labor government has chosen to remove from the NDIS. I think we need to be really clear about what this bill does. This bill threatens the future of the NDIS and the rights of disabled people. And Labor had the gall to create it behind closed doors, bullied representatives from the disability community to sign non-disclosure agreements. Now, that's not genuine co-design. Previous Speaker, Member for Blair, talked about co-design. But what has happened here is actually not that. It's a betrayal. Not only has the government ripped the funding out of the NDIS, they're going to make it harder for anyone to access the NDIS. And if you're already on a plan, well, guess what? This bill forces every NDIS participant to transition from an old framework plan to a new plan over the next 5 years. What this means is every current NDIS participant's future on the scheme is up for question. That is over 600,000 participants needing review. We already know that the NDIS can't handle the current workload, even with its current funding. It doesn't take a genius to realise that a $14.4 billion funding shortfall and an increase in workload for staff means that people are going to fall through the cracks and suffer. It's so very clear that this is a thinly veiled attempt to remove support for people or just kick them off the NDIS altogether. They're going to restrict what supports are available through the scheme. They're going to remove provisions for individualising plans and try to standardise assessments. Disability is not standardised and should never be treated as such. When the Gillard Labor government introduced the NDIS over a decade ago, there were good and there were great intentions. At the heart of the NDIS, it was meant to enable each individual disabled person to achieve their goals and aspirations, as the previous Speaker, the member for Blair, laid out. But anyone who has tried to get on the NDIS or work with it knows how utterly frustrating it is. The NDIS is run on a bureaucracy-heavy business model with endless hurdles and hoops for people to jump through, Deputy Speaker. Just when you think you've cleared a hurdle or figured it out, they move the goalposts. This isn't me, this is my constituents telling me about this. People are spending years of their lives crushed and exhausted by trying to navigate the NDIS. This bill is going to make it worse. That's the fact. I've heard from people in my electorate that they've been kicked out of supported living and are homeless because the NDIS failed to pay their rent in time. Parents have to take time off work because the NDIS refuses to offer any more support for their children. I've worked with people who've spent thousands of dollars and hours gathering supporting evidence of their condition just for the NDIS to tell them it's not enough. These funds and services are absolutely critical to keeping people well, in many cases to keep them alive and allowing them to have a meaningful life. The government is boasting a $9.6 billion surplus at the moment, but it takes over $14 billion out of the NDIS. That is a funding black hole now, and essential services will now be completely wiped off the map. Yet Labor has $50 billion for weapons. Labor has $174.5 billion for property investors. They've got another $50 billion for fossil fuel subsidies. This is our taxpayer money. All our taxpayer dollars, of course, for things that destroy, for things that make things actually worse for Australians. Yet they cry poor when it comes to funding the very services that offer fundamental life-saving programs to people. It's devastating to say this, but on the evidence and on the evidence of the stories that my constituents have told me, the government just doesn't seem to care about these everyday Australians. And what is also clear is that they haven't listened to a single story from NDIS participants, because if they had, they wouldn't be summarily slashing $14 billion from this really important scheme. Well, I'm going to tell you some stories. Here are some stories from my electorate, and I want them to be on record, because if these stories were heard by the government, then if they don't act on them, they've been ignored. Recently, I was contacted by a support worker who was working for free because all of the other supports had left the NDIS participant, a person who needed round-the-clock care and had just run out of funds. The support worker had made a number of accelerated emergency action requests with absolutely no response, zilch. So this participant, not at any fault of their own, had run out of funds because of a change in circumstance, which, according to the service guarantee, had not been processed. Instead of the system flagging that this participant, who needs round-the-clock care, as I said, would run out of funds, the NDIS simply let it lapse. For them, it's a number in the system. For this participant, it is quite literally their life. The NDIS is already failing people, and Labor has chosen to further gut it. I'll tell you another story about a lovely gentleman from my electorate who unfortunately has been diagnosed with early-onset dementia and is cared for by his wife. Finally, she was able to go on respite leave to spend some time overseas with family, and yet again, despite submitting the funding request, it wasn't processed correctly. Again, this meant the participant was left without funds, meaning there was no money to pay for the respite accommodation. If my office had not intervened, he would have been dropped off at home without any support at all, completely alone. And finally, I'm going to tell you another sad story I hear far too often, and that is of the sheer mental toll of waiting for approval, jumping through the hoops, forced to make unnecessary appointments because of an unnecessary plan change. For many, this toll is just too much to bear. A young person recently contacted my office from the hospital after they'd attempted to take their own life because of unbearable trauma caused by the outrageous wait times. They had attempted multiple times to access their supports, to access their funds, and the NDIS either did not deem it necessary to reply or outright refused. This bright, amazing young person has been beaten down by a system that was already broken and has now been gutted further, and it has broken them. What the government is saying with this bill, with this budget, is that they do not care about you if you need the NDIS. They don't think you're capable of managing your own life, managing your own plan of funding. It's needlessly and indescribably cruel. Many people on the NDIS already knew the government didn't seem to care about them. This just rubs salt in that painful wound. With this budget and the bill, Labor has sent a pretty clear message to disabled people. They're not caring about you, about your goals, about your aspirations, or about your own agency. That's not good enough for me. It's certainly not good enough for those who need the NDIS, and it's not good enough for the Greens. We will not support this bill in its current form.